Hello, everybody.
Bonjour à
Thank you,
tous.
Charlie, once again
Merci
for
Charlie,
having given
encore
me
une
the
fois,
opportunity to
de
come
me
here
permettre donc de
and
venir
tell
vous
you
raconter
a few nice
quelques
stories.
histoires
And I
sympathiques.
would like
Et je vais
to
reprendre
go
quelque
over
chose dont
something
j'ai
that I
parlé l'année
discussed last
dernière,
year.
le collage
Digital
indirect,
3D
digital,
indirect
3D
bonding
à votre portée.
within your grasp.
En
I
effet, j'ai
started
commencé ce
indirect
collage
bonding a
indirect
long
il y a
time ago.
longtemps
At the time, it
chez
was
Château
Chateau,
déjà,
and
avec un
there were
ensemble de contraintes
limitations at the
d'époque.
time, optoxyl, xanthoprene, concise. You don't
Le
even know what I'm
concise, vous
talking
savez même
about.
plus de quoi je parle, ce n'est
It
pas
was a long
grave.
time ago,
Il y a bien
but
longtemps.
nowadays
Et aujourd'hui,
we are
nous sommes
already
déjà
in
dans le
the
collage
era of indirect
3D.
3D bonding. And
Et
for me,
ceci, je
this
dirais pour
is
moi, c'est
really
déjà
our daily
aujourd'hui.
work. It's
Et je vais
today's work, and I will
commencer
start
peut-être à
talking
vous
about
parler de
tomorrow,
demain.
the future.
En pratique,
Now, 3D
l'empreinte
3D
3D pour
printing
moi
is
est
my
du
daily
quotidien.
work.
Si vous n'avez pas
And if you have never
encore
done a 3D
fait
printing,
d'empreinte 3D, il faut vous y
3D
mettre, vous
impression,
êtes déjà
sorry,
très
you
en
have
retard.
to start
Ensuite, ces
doing them
empreintes 3D,
and
Charlie
use an
donc m'a
intraoral
déjà
scan.
doublé, il vous a expliqué le nouveau site
Charlie
où ça
already
va
has told
encore
you
se
about the new
simplifier.
Autopartner
Donc vous
website. It's going to be
envoyez, vous
easier.
avez
You
un
have the
site, vous avez
website.
tout ce qu'il
You
faut.
can
Vous récupérez
very
très
quickly
vite votre solution
receive
qui vous
your
arrive.
product. You
Vous
can
allez pouvoir
customize the
personnaliser.
setup. And you
Vous
can
allez
even
récupérer
download
même
the
les
STL
fichiers
files very
STL
quickly.
très
STL
vite
are
aussi.
like
STL,
JPEG
c'est
for
comme
images, except
JPEG,
STL
une
is
image,
3D.
STL 3D.
And the STL
Et ces fichiers
files,
STL,
you can
vous allez
print
pouvoir
them,
les
and
imprimer.
this is what I
Et
would
c'est
like to
sur
tell
tout
you
ça dont
about
je
in
vais vous
office
parler
printing.
aujourd'hui.
But if you
Où
prefer,
vous
you
allez
can
tout
ask
simplement aussi
Julien
demander
Lamondé
au
from
célèbre
Autopartner,
Julien
whom
Lamondé
everybody knows, to print them
d'Autopartner
for you with
de
a
les
3D
imprimer
printer.
pour vous.
And
Et vous
we've
voyez qu'on a prévu de
set
vous
up a
montrer
printer here to show you how we
comment on
print them,
imprime.
and they will be shipped to you in
Et vous les
48 hours.
recevez
If
aussi en
need be,
48 heures. Il vient en
Julien
courant
will
au
run
cabinet,
to
le pauvre.
your practice. No,
Vous
DHL will
connaissez
do the job.
DHL, passons.
And will deliver the
Donc,
trays
impression au
to your
cabinet et ensuite
office. So either you print them yourself or they will print them for you. And you can do your indirect bonding. Let's go over the indirect bonding procedure. You have to start with optic impression or oral scans. Oral scans, they will be useful for everything. And for indirect bonding, you send the scans to the laboratory. Now we have an Autopartner website. You will receive the setup, you can review it, and this is where you can actually apply your own signature on how you want to finish the treatment. And once you've reviewed the STL files, you can either print them in the office if you have a 3D printer, you can print your trays, or you can have them printed by Autopartner and shipped to you, and you can do your indirect bonding. Now, there was a time not so long ago when the indirect bonding was very expensive, 800 euros, 600 euros, but now indirect bonding, the price is 46 euros per arch. In other words, less than 100 euros for a indirect bonding on both arches, and you're saving so much time. And you'll gain so much accuracy, the number of finishing phases you're going to be able to avoid. It really is a game changer. It could become your daily work. And also, printing the trays in office is one thing, but if you prefer to have them printed by Autopartner, obviously they will charge you a bit more. They have to do the printing, ship them, there is time involved, but you will end up printing them in the office, mark my words. Now, for my presentation, we will start with 3D scans. Don't tell me you can't afford a 3D intraoral scan in your office. I will tell you about the Medit i700W wireless. It's wireless. There are two sizes for the one, so you can even go inside very small mouse, very young patients, and between 10,000, 30,000 euros, maybe 40,000 euros, you have all kinds of intraoral scans available, depending on how much you can afford to pay. But remember that scans digital impressions will help you save time. If you do alginate impressions, it takes longer than to do 2 intraoral scans to record the occlusion, 3-4 minutes max to record 1 occlusion. And that's something your assistant can do. You don't need to do it yourself. The assistant can do it easily. And intraoral scans will provide more autonomy in your clinic and everything you do. Let's go back to my presentation. So we've talked about intraoral scans. What about the software? The software is called Indibond. And the Indibond is very interesting because all you need to do is log into the website. And I'm already late. Charlie has already shown you and told you that there is an AutoPartner website. You can log into it directly. You don't have to go through an intermediate system. You can log into the website and start immediately your treatment. You send your scans and 48 hours later you receive your arch setups. You can make changes to the bracket setup if you change your mind. Because, you know, the patient no longer wants ceramic brackets, wants metal brackets. You can make the necessary changes. And our Charlie talked about artificial intelligence. Well, this is the era of artificial intelligence. It's there to stay. But artificial intelligence means intelligence. And the intelligence is really human. It's not artificial. And that's why we are above artificial intelligence. And nowadays, it's very convenient to have a clean check. With the brackets already on it, you have the clean check, you can review it before, after, and you can visualize the treatment like a clean check. Below, above. You can check what the teeth will do, how they will move during the treatment. Even before you start the treatment, you can check the occlusal contacts and decide whether they're okay or not. I'll go over this very quickly because I already made a presentation last year. And now, this is interesting. You can apply your own signature on the treatment. You customize the treatment. For instance, here you want to distalize the cuspid. You want more offset because you want the mesiopalatal face of the cuspid to be outside so that the mandible can go forward and you can restore a simple class 1. But you do this even before you start the treatment. You will already know what is going to happen at the end, and you used not to be able to do that unless you bend a wire. And nowadays, orthodontists don't even know how to bend wire. The treatment quality is the best. And this is also an improvement made with this software. The outcome of the treatment is already very good to begin with. You can always make changes, but you have far less work than you used to. What they send you takes 5 minutes to review. And once you're satisfied, you can approve. And then you will receive your trays and your brackets, and you'll be able to work. Now, I go over this quickly because AutoPartner organizes a training session that lasts 1 day to work with the digital bonding. You can learn to work digitally, no problem with this training. Now, the trays, you review the positioning. And if you don't have a 3D printer, never mind. AutoPartner will print them for you and send them to you. Once you receive your transfer trays, you have to do the bonding. Now, if you want to print them yourself, because you have a 3D printer, you have approved the file, and we start talking about 3D printing. November 2022, I remember going to the AutoPartner booth and I saw the 3D printers. They cost a fortune at the time, and that made me really nervous. But I was looking at a high-class gentleman, Charlie Alcoubi, we've known each other for ages, and he said to me, no problem, go ahead, do what you like. And I would like to deliver a presentation today. He is not involved in any way, but I want to show you this. I bought a printer for 500 euros in November 2022. I had it brought to my home. My wife couldn't stand it anymore. But because I'm already old, I learned by myself to print with a 3D printer. People said to me, it's so difficult. And I learned myself. I ordered it from Amazon and I received it the next day, and it cost 500 euros. Well, I don't know how to use it. So I went to YouTube and I found all kinds of tutorials to learn to use a 3D printer. Every time you have a problem, you look at YouTube and you find a video that will solve the problem within a minute. So this 3D printer that cost 420 euros, well, 500 euros at the time, and it's called Saturn S, LEGO Saturn S. There are filters whereby it no longer smells bad, because until then it smelled really bad when you did 3D printing. But now they have carbon filters. And between November of 2022 and today, things have changed, and nowadays the Saturn III Ultra 12K looks like this. Mine was 4Ks for finishing. This is 12Ks. And it's still worth 500 euros, a little less, 499 euros. But this one, if you don't want to spend 500 euros, you can pay 420 for the Saturn III 12K, not Ultra, but plain Saturn III 12K. Well, what's the difference between the Ultra and the Saturn III? The speed. Ultra goes twice faster than the normal Saturn III, twice faster than, 3 times faster than the 2. With Saturn II, I print my indirect bonding trays in half an hour, and it will take you 10 minutes for this with this one. Saturn III is even cheaper now. It was launched in July and now the price is even lower. If you order it today, you will receive it by the time you fly home. And there's more to it than meets the eye. For 3D printing, you have to rinse, clean, light cure, etc. The machine that will clean, wash and dry what you have printed. It allows also to light cure, and it turns and it light cures the tray, 3D printed tray. But before that, you've washed them very quickly with this particular machine. You wash them with alcohol, isopropylic alcohol, 6 liters for 36 euros. No need to do anything very complicated. You can buy the pack for 155 euros. You have everything you need to wash and clean. But what I'm trying to convey here is that you can buy for 647.98 euros the Saturn III Ultra 12K that goes 3 times as fast as the Saturn II, with a kilo of standard resin, and the washing and drying device that also light cures will cost 139 euros. So for 650 euros, you have everything, the complete pack. And Autopartner is not involved here. Charlie allows me to advertise a product that he does not sell. Don't call Charlie to ask how it works. He does not sell it. You're on your own. But once we understand each other, you want a printer, and you call Julien, you will get this one. It's much more expensive. Can I say the price? It's 10 times more expensive, 5,000 euros. So either you can manage, as I did, on your own, and I did it. I had it shipped to my place, and I learned how to use it. So you can do it. Or if you want service, then you'll have to pay for it. We're in France, don't forget it. But because I'm talking about buying a printer, I will tell you that in my office, we print lingual
j'ai pas besoin pour fabriquer un arc lingual de contention
trays for retention.
d'une résine précise.
I don't need a very accurate resin. I can buy a cheap resin, 28 euros per kilo. If I need a better resin, then I can buy a resin that is worth 50 euros per kilo.
Euro le kilo.
If I damaged or scratched
je sais pas utiliser au début
this film, you can buy them
vous les achetez
in a pack of 6 for 40 euros, 50 euros, but then you have to unscrew them, screw them back in place. There's no after sales, you're the after sales service. But the prices are so low that you can have 2 trays like this one, 2 films like this one, you have them in your drawer. When you need them, you can buy more filters. You can do it all by yourself. You can replace the filters, the air purifiers. They come in packs of 2 and 5. So, as far as 3D impression and oral scans, this should be your daily work. And indirect bonding as well, bearing in mind that you can use artificial intelligence and you can add your signature to the treatment. So by now you have received your STL file for indirect bonding. You cannot print it yourself. The STL file to be printed must be cut in slices. And this means you have to use a software which is provided together with the 3D printer. It's included in the 500 euros. It's called Sheetbox. It's Chinese. Forget about the name, it doesn't matter really. But this software allows you to prepare your trays, to start the printing process and cut them in slices. Now, here you have inserted them, they have to lie flat, and once they lie flat, I learned to do this all by myself. There's no reason you couldn't do it. And by the way, if you don't know how to do it, okay, no problem. Attend the day training session organized by Autopartner, and you'll learn to do it. So green means they're lying flat to be printed, and once they're flat, you start the process that will cut them in slices. It's shown on the right-hand side. 37-23 seconds for printing. You divide that by 3 with the Saturn 3 Ultra, so you guess it's going to be 3 times less, and you end up with 1,250 slices. Because the printer will print one slide, will light cure it, print a second layer, light cure it, the third layer, light cure it, etc. This is how it works with 3D printing. And once you have the Sheetbox impression divided in slices, you record it on a USB drive, which you insert into the printer. You switch on print, you select the file you want to print, and that's it. It's done. And I think back to my wife. She was going crazy. She was really patient because I spent so much time testing the printing process. This is the Illuga Saturn S November 22, so now it's Saturn 3. The latest version is Saturn 3 Ultra, and you need to buy the Q Auto IBT resin from Autopartner. It's expensive, but it's still the cheapest. I have had a look at the various websites. You can buy it for 2 or 3 times the price on other websites. So if you buy it from Autopartner, it's cheaper. It's the one resin that will allow you to do indirect bonding tray printing, IBT. You want a resin that you can put in the patient's mouth without poisoning the patient. It's sticky. This is the resin. And it's sticking to the plate. So you have to lift it off the plate. And I do this with a blade, with a tool. I have a little blade and a hammer. And this is how I get it off the plate. And once you have your trays, you will place them in the rinsing device 10 seconds. 1 minute is too long, 15 seconds will do the job. And the more you rinse it with alcohol, the more you will remove all the layers that have not cured on the surface. And you end up with too large a gap for your brackets or your attachments, and it will be loose. So don't rinse them too much. 15 seconds will do the job. And then you will dry them on the mercury plate, the one that will rinse and then light cure. Light curing, you can leave them 15 minutes, 10 minutes, it doesn't make much difference. Light curing it doesn't harm. You have your trays ready, and once they're ready, you can place the brackets inside the bonding tray. Now, careful. Make sure you place them in the appropriate position, not upside down. This is important because you don't want to bond the bracket upside down or in the wrong position. So that's something that your assistant must learn to do. Place the brackets into the bonding tray, and then you just start the bonding tray sequence. Something important while you're doing the indirect bonding, you have to try the tray first in the patient's mouth, just to learn how to place it in the right position and know exactly how to place the bonding tray in the patient's mouth and how to remove it. So check that without putting the composite in the tray. Because then it will need composite for the brackets to be bonded onto the patient's teeth. But once you have checked the fitting, you place the composite and the bracket base, and then you put everything in a black box, and then it stays there until the patient comes. And because you have prepared the enamel surface very quickly, you can place your bonding tray in very little time because you're ready. So you place transbond on the bracket space, you remove the flash with the spatula, that's the assistant's job, and then you can bond the brackets, or you have to do the edging, the rinsing, the drying, and you're ready to go. You have placed your trays in the patient's mouth, you have light cured the brackets with a lamp for 1 second. That's something you need to have, a curing lamp, the 1 second curing lamp. You don't want to cure each tooth for 15 seconds. 1 second, if you have the right lamp, in 6 seconds you have cured all 6 brackets. And what do I do now? Well, now I am going to give the floor to Romain. And Romain is going to tell you the rest of the story, what you can do tomorrow morning, thanks to artificial intelligence and thanks to what Charlie is currently preparing. Printing aligner trays directly in your office. Because if you can prepare a clean check for your bonding trays, thanks to Cleverline, the new system that Charlie is working on, you can do your clean check and you have the STL files to print your clear aligners. And with the Iligu printer, you can print the clear aligners, but you can also print them with a much faster printer, obviously 11,000 euros, but you know, we're talking about a different thing, but you can do it in your office. And the one thing that Romain is going to explain is the fact that these aligners are shape memory aligners, and you can already print them in the office, and you will be able to do it very, very soon. Thank you.
Merci.
Hello, everybody.
Bonjour à tous.
I wanted to thank Charlie for his invitation. And I want to thank Ephraim for having shared his lecture with me. With Ephraim, we met during an event I organized in December. It was an event on indirect printing. direct printing, sorry, direct printing of clear aligners, and we discussed this, and we discussed the printer that is being used. But before I talked about the direct printing of clear aligners, I'm going to tell you why in-office printing, the different techniques, the mold, and then the direct printing. I have I'm neither a dentist nor an orthodontist. I have started a photography and video company in 2017. I started an Invisalign treatment on myself, and my orthodontist asked me whether I could do 3D printing, and I said yes, I can do 3D printing of little toys and objects. And he said, would you be interested to look at what dental 3D is like? And I fell in love with dental 3D, and so during COVID I attended all the training sessions I could on all dental printing for aligners. And in 2022, I started training other people on the software, and at the end of 2022, I created RDOrtho, a company to do research and development for 3D printing, and we're there to support you to start your own laboratory in your office. So following this company creation, we met with Charlie, and the idea was to develop the Clever Aligner project and help the dentists and doctors to set up their own printing laboratory in their office. I worked with Spark, I worked with Invisalign, but I worked especially on in-office. I did more than 150 to 100 cases per year of in-office printing, both for mold printing, but also for direct clear aligner printing. And this is the reason why we met with Ephraim. So what's the point? Why is in-office printing relevant? Well, you save money, you are more reactive because you can give your patient clear aligners the same day. You have more freedom, you're not so submitted to price increases as the others are. You can deliver customized first service, you can do whatever you want. I'll give you an example, a case that struck me. We had a patient who was autistic, and we never knew whether he was going to wear his aligners. And the mother came to us, and I printed a model in 30 minutes, and I printed the aligner, and we gave him an aligner immediately, and after 1 week, the mother said, yes, he's okay, he's wearing the aligner, and we could start the treatment. Communication also, because the point of in-office is retention, and retention, when you take aligners from Invisalign, Vivera, they're very expensive, whereas if you print them in office, 3 retention trays will cost you €8. Mold, plate, customization of the product, €8. So that's why also for communication purposes it's useful. Now, thermoformed aligners, there are several stages. The first stage, the common stage, is digitalization. You need to scan the patient and prepare a prescription. There are different platforms, Google, Trado, there are different platforms for the prescription. Then you have to find the STL file on the platform and make a model, and then a setup. The setup will be very time-consuming. Initially, there is a learning curve, but the more you move on and the faster you go, and the less expensive it will become. And once your setup is ready, you can actually have a virtual video which you can either give to the doctors, the dentist, or the patient himself. And because it was very time-consuming, my brother, who likes video games, said, aren't you tired of clicking all day long? And he brought this to me and said, look at this. And this is a keyboard bought from Amazon, and I have found and developed shortcuts, and we discussed it yesterday with one orthodontist, and I told him that we did an interception case. in 6 clicks, because I've created many shortcuts with this keyboard, macro shortcuts, and it's much faster. And because we have many, we didn't have an artificial intelligence software for this, I found my own solution. Then we have 3D printing, post-treatment, and thermoforming. Ephraim has already mentioned it, but I will give you a booster injection. These are the 3 printers that I've either used or I'm using. The first one is Sprinttray. Sprinttray is sold by Autopartner. What's the point? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Disadvantage, the price. The advantage is that you have customer support from the Autopartner team, regardless of what problems you're facing. And the other advantage is that it already has been preset for the resin you're using. Then we have the Unis NB. Unis NB is a new printer which was recently released. The advantage is that it's the fastest machine on the market. Why? If you do a mold, in 7 minutes you can print 7 molds. I even managed to do it in 5.5 minutes. If you want to print vertically 20 molds in 25 minutes, I mean, it's an ultra-fast printer. And then there's the Elego Saturn 3 Ultra. When I started doing this in 2018, all printers were expensive, and I said, no, I have to find an alternative solution. So the first Unis printer was 2,500 euros at the time, and the salesman said, look, I have a new printer, it's not sold yet, but it was the first Iligo version. And I said, okay, I'll buy it. At the time it was 900 euros, and I bought it. They shipped it to me, and he said, you know, would you like to try it for dentists and orthodontists? And the next day I ordered 3 of them, because I said they do exactly the same job, except you'll have to do a lot of research to find out how it works, but they do exactly the same thing. That's why I created my training company. Then there are thermoformers. So these are the various thermoforming machines that I have used. My preferred one is the Minister Shoe. This machine is connected to a compressor. There is 4-bar pressure in the machine, and the aligners are very good because they adhere to the teeth. Then there is ErcoPress 240, a new machine that was recently released that allows you to do several aligners at the same time. But it's always under pressure. I want machines with pressure. I don't want machines with vacuum. I want pressure. Now, the problem I have with this particular machine is that if I only have to do 2 or 3 aligners, I can't do that. I have to do 6 or 7 every time. And Shoe is developing a new machine that will allow to do 4 aligners at the same time, or 4 aligners independently. It's more flexible. And then I tried the Ergoform 3D Motion. Everything is semi-automated, except that the pressure on these 2 is 4 bars, and here the pressure is 0.8 bars. And for retention, my aligners did not adhere to the teeth enough. There was not enough retention. These are different plates that can be bought on top of the Autopartner ones. These plates are single-layer plates, Ergodont AL, and then there are 3-layer plates, the Shoe CA Pro Plus, and there's Enduraflex. For alignment, we use 0.75 or 0.8, for retention 1 millimeter. The triple-layer plates are more expensive. They're 3 times more expensive than the single-layer. And they are liked by the patients. Patients like them more. So I always explain to the patients, never start with a triple-layer film, start with a single-layer film. Otherwise, the patients get used to the triple-layer film and they will not go back to anything else. Cutting is the most tedious stage when you do in-office printing. Either you do it by hand or you have it done by a machine. And last week, I attended the Société Française d'Orthodontie Paralinéaire meeting, and there was a company there that introduced a new machine. I'm not in favor of machine cutting because either the machine will only do one aligner at a time. I'm talking about laser machines. Only one aligner or several aligners. However, the machines, I don't think they're reliable enough. Yes, of course, there are industrial machines that I have had a chance to try, but the prices are crazy. So this is a cutting machine that will do laser cutting, and the aligner will come out perfectly well cut. The non-laser cutting machines, it's not good enough. You have to almost redo the job yourself to finish the product. Next, if you do in-office printing, you have to make sure you organize your packaging. Some companies will sell you boxes. This is a friend of mine, a company that made boxes. Also, you can have your labels printed. We made a few changes, but the idea was to find nice little bags and print some labels. And you can actually print your own customized labels to put on the bags. Software. The three software that I remember, which I believe are good, while we wait for something more from artificial intelligence, Onyxef is a very exhaustive software. You can do a lot. Then you have DeltaFace. DeltaFace is good because it's very simple, simpler than Onyxef, much simpler, but less powerful. But for small cases, it's more than enough, and you can buy it on a case-by-case basis. And now there's a new software that recently came out for direct printing that allows you to do direct printing, but you have to buy all the equipment for direct printing. And I'm looking forward to clever liners for artificial intelligence because we're going to save time with setup. Because what takes time is setup and cutting. That's the most consuming phase. So if you have clever liner and direct printing, well, you're on top of the game. So this is direct printing for aligners. Direct printing arrived in Europe last year. The left-hand side picture I took with the resin company's CEO and Professor Ravinandrananda. And during the event, they showed us how the resin worked and how the printing worked and what the advantages were for that particular resin. In December, I met Ephraim during an event that was organized in Paris with the whole Dr. Sabouni team for a presentation on direct aligner printing, and I was able to attend different workshops with Dr. Benassia. And last week, I finally met Kim Woon Kim, who is the first user, the one who's printed the largest number of cases in direct impression. This is the workflow video that I developed at home. This is a workflow I recommend for in-office printing. And I used the Saturn S printer, and you will see it. You see the Saturn S here. So as you see, these are shape memory aligners. I'm going to show you. This is a short video from the aligner company. All the stages for in-office printing. Here you have the different stages for direct printing. They have prepared this video. I don't fully agree because they believe there are only 3 stages versus the 7 stages here, and I don't think this is entirely true. When you receive the STL file, you can do your setup exactly the same way as for modeling printing. But during the export, you're going to have to ask for the aligners to be cut. in slices. The three software I showed you and Clever Liner do it. But before you print, you should always tilt your aligner 20 to 30 degrees, systematically. This is very important. Otherwise, the aligner will not print well, or there will not be the same thickness throughout the aligner. Then you have printing support. Until not very long ago, it was necessary to place your supporting structures manually. For each aligner, you had to place little supporting pods. That was very time-consuming. Nowadays, the software that I've introduced will tilt the aligner automatically and place the supporting structures. And they will place supporting structures which were manufactured with the company that makes the resin, so they're very easy to place and remove. I had a demonstration this morning. Yesterday with Julien we did some printing, and I showed him, I made a demo, I showed you could place them and remove them really easily. And here you see the advantages of this machine, or the Uniz. The resin goes directly into the machine on the Uniz, but on this machine as well, if you take sprintless print, it will enter the setups, the settings for direct printing. Contrary to the Illigo, I lost some resin because they told me it was impossible, and I wanted it to work, so I insisted, and I made 2 mistakes, 3 mistakes, and then finally I found the right settings to do in direct printing with relatively low-cost machines. So it takes a little more time to understand how it works versus the automatic machine, but you can do it. Now, people call me on the phone all the time because regardless of the type of machine, although people who know me buy the Illigo machine, but regardless of the type of machine, there are things you need to do. You have to calibrate the printer. But what Ephraim didn't say earlier is that the machine will actually calibrate itself. Many machines don't, but this one does. Also, you should make sure that the printer is always resting on a flat plane, so make sure your table is perfectly flat and stable. You know, the printer sometimes will be in the garage or in your basement. You don't necessarily have enough room in your office, but make sure it's a flat and stable surface that you place the printer on. Temperature should always be 20 degrees minimum, and also you should make sure you scratch the plate. I don't really understand why. When you buy the print, the first thing you need to do is damage it. You have to scratch the plate, otherwise the aligners will not stay in place. So you buy the machine and you scratch the plate. It doesn't make sense. The NBA machine is 13,000 euros, and they give you the instruments to scratch it, so why don't they do it themselves? And finally, you also should always close the machine well, otherwise the resin will turn to gel and it's useless. These are examples with the various printers, simply to show you that it works with all 3 types of printers. Once you've finished printing the models, there are different stages. First, centrifugal process. Inside the aligners there will be flashed excess resin, and you have to use an electrical centrifugal machine to remove all the flash, all the excess material. So twice 3 minutes. Why not once 6 minutes? I don't know. It's twice 3 minutes. I guess the machine can't do 6 minutes in one go. And this is the most important stage. When you do 3D printing, the color will be slightly yellowish, and you have to use a UV machine because there is nitrogen inside. So you have to connect it with a minimum 7 bars compressor, and you will have a nitrogen jet. And the nitrogen jet will remove all toxicity. It will make the aligner translucent, and that's it. So the machine is more expensive than the normal UV machine, but I've tried to use a normal UV machine, it didn't work, so you have to buy this one.
Donc voici le protocole.
So you always should use it on level 2, 20 minutes, and you have to activate the nitrogen generator, otherwise it doesn't work. And you see here you move from a yellowish aligner to a fully transparent, clear aligner. I have some examples here, some samples, if you want to see. And the last stage, because there are several stages, you have to rinse the aligners in water at a temperature of 100 degrees to remove anything, any toxic residues. So ultrasound bath, 100 degrees, 7 minutes, and then you can place the aligner in the patient's mouth. Now, if you ask me for tips for in-office printing, always make sure you have the right equipment. You have to have a good mouse. It's very important if you work in your office. I work with this particular mouse because I want to be able to be comfortable with my hands and not hurt my hand. And if you do a lot of in-office printing, I recommend you buy a 3D mouse. And this is something that Ephraim mentioned earlier. I saw that on his printer he had a magnet plate. And I don't know why he didn't use it. A magnet plate. Because it's flexible. Ah, okay, you can't take it off. So the advantage with this model, before that you had to remove it with the spatula, as he showed, with spatula and hammer. Nowadays you have a magnet plate and you simply bend the plate a little bit and all the models will come off. You save time, you don't damage your models. And finally, I recommend you buy a good pair of scissors, because when you do 200 aligners a day, it can become very tedious and uncomfortable. Right, so if you want to do to print your own molds, resin is very cheap. And if you want to do direct printing or indirect bonding trays, you have to buy the resin from professional laboratories such as OrthoPartner. Why did I start working in office aligner printing? Well, I found that in-office was very interesting for small cases, less than 20 aligners. It's much cheaper, and the setup is easier. And when Invisalign took off, everybody, well, the prices in Invisalign took off, everybody moved to Spark, but Spark did not do interception cases. There was no Spark first process. Interception cases are very easy, and interception treatment with aligners is very cheap. So if you do in-office printing, I found artificial intelligence distance monitoring very useful, because you can make aligners, and rather than making large quantities, you can print them as you go. So you save money, you're very reactive, and every time the patient comes to the dental clinic, he gets the right aligner. People say, yeah, in-office is okay, but you can only do simple cases. No, that's not true. However, there is a learning curve. It can be long for some people, but you can treat all cases, except there is a learning curve. You have no one there, you don't have the laboratory doing it for you. You're on your own. So for me, it's financially more relevant, makes sense, but the only disadvantage is that we're still waiting for artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is going to help us squeeze out some stages. Nowadays, with the software, you have to select each tooth, you have to do the modeling for each tooth, and it's time-consuming. If artificial intelligence allows you to do all the preparing stages and pre-alignment faster, it's already a very good advantage. So this is it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Charlie. And I hope that Cleverliner will be ready very soon, and I will find that very helpful. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Are there any questions?
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions?
No questions?
Est-ce qu'il y a des questions? No? Please. Can you connect? I want to finish.
Thank you very much, Romain.
Merci beaucoup, Romain.
Merci.
Yes, there is one question.
Oui, j'ai une question.
Unfortunately, the question cannot be heard. Romain, thank you very much for your presentation. I just want to know, just an information, regarding the cost and the type of treatment. What's the difference if we order the aligners from Spark, from or if we order them with Clever Liner?
Non, alors pour faire
Well,
simple,
I bought resin last
moi
week.
j'ai acheté de la résine la semaine dernière.
I'm not going to talk about direct printing because you know, it's a bit
pour
premature.
moi c'est quand même très prématuré. C'est-à-dire que
Technically speaking, it works, but for aligners, I have not seen anything that I found impressive, so I'll rather refrain from talking about it. But there is a new resin on the market worth 22 euros per liter.
Donc, si vous faites en
So
plein, un moulage coûte à peu
printing
près
a mold
50
will
centimes.
cost you 50 cents if
Si vous
it's
le faites en
full, and
vide,
if it's
le
hollow,
moulage
it's
coûte à peu
20
près 20
cents.
centimes.
And
Et
for
le
a
prix
plate,
d'une
it
plaque, ça
depends.
dépend. Moi, j'ai
One orthodontist told me I
m'a
never
dit,
used
moi,
the
j'ai jamais
triple
mis
layer,
Il me dit parce que
and
ils ont
the
pas de
patient
référence,
does
les
not
patients.
see the difference. If
Donc,
you
si
give
on
them
leur
single
donne du
layer,
monocouche,
with
la
Spark,
plupart
they do
en
two things.
Spark,
They
ils
do
font
triple
deux choses.
layer
Ils font-
and single
Spark font
layer.
du triple
If
couche
you do
et du
single layer,
monocouche.
the
Donc, si vous
plate
faites du
is €1
monocouche,
and
une plaque, c'est à peu
€1.20.
près 1 euro,
So,
1
you
euro
know,
20.
just do the
Donc,
math.
je vous laisse
If you
faire
do
le
20
calcul.
aligners,
Si vous faites 20 aligneurs, ça vous fait
10 euros for the
allez,
mold,
même pas 10 euros de moulage
and
et
20 euros for the plate.
même pas 20 euros de plaque.
So what
Voilà.
is expensive
Donc,
is
ce
the
qui va vous
setup,
coûter cher,
really.
c'est le
And
setup.
if we can have
Et le
artificial
setup, si on peut
intelligence,
avoir de
then
l'intelligence
it
artificielle derrière,
will be
bah là,
much cheaper.
on aura des prix de traitement qui seront beaucoup
Thank
moins
you.
chers.
Merci. Oui.
I was very surprised by the 100 degrees temperature. Microphone, please.
Microphone, please.
Oh, okay, I'll repeat the question.
Par les sondes, je vais répéter, il n'y a pas de problème.
Yes, I was very surprised by
Donc,
that
très
100 degrees temperature you mentioned.
De post-traitement de pégouttière.
Don't the aligners lose their mechanical property?
Pas du tout, c'est vraiment...
No, it used to be 85 degrees, and they've increased the temperature to 100 degrees to remove any toxic residue. So that's the protocol. I can't elaborate more. I simply applied the protocol.
À la lettre, mais ça c'est des recommandations
This is a recommendation that they gave me.
Et
And
ensuite,
the aligner
en fait,
will
l'aligner reprend sa forme.
go
Donc,
back to
pourquoi on
its
appelle ça
original
des
shape. That's
aligners
why we
mémoire
call
de forme,
them
parce que dès qu'il y a un contact
shape
au-dessus
memory.
des 33 degrés,
Every time you
l'aligner
heat
reprend
it up to
directement sa
100
forme.
degrees, it will go
Donc,
back
on
to its
pourra
original
regarder tout à l'heure,
shape.
il y a pas de problème.
But post-treatment, it's very
post-traitement
important
est
that you
important de
apply
faire
this
la
100
première
degree
phase à 100 degrés.
temperature.
Merci.